Keith, the preseason poll is out, and in a sense, you could see you guys were maybe overlooked again. Just, I know preseason polls maybe don't mean something until maybe they do.
So the first year we were picked 14th and finished 10th. Last year we were picked 11th and finished 6th. We keep getting picked lower than where we finished the year before. So hey, we just got to play with a chip on our shoulder and earn our respect. And I feel like if we continue to plug and play with that chip on our shoulder, we'll finish higher than what they think.
Practice-wise, what have you seen? Are there maybe some players that have maybe earned more prominent roles as the season draws closer?
Well, we've had some injuries issues, as you know. We still don't have the 2 ACL guys back, Amari Kelly and Austin Rotroff, and then Frankie Hughes out for the year. So we've been practicing with about 8 or 9 guys every day. So the good thing about that is, they get a lot of time in practice. The bad thing is sometimes we're playing a little bit dead on our feet, which means we're coasting a little bit and not really being able to substitute. But look, all 9 of those guys are going to play. And that's a good thing. So they're all playing for something rather than, sometimes guys going in walls because they're not getting an opportunity to play.
You know Mike Hughes, you know how his body has been. What did you learn last year in terms of managing his minutes, managing his body, and finding that balance?
Well, we've had issues with Mike Hughes even this summer and fall. He had this stress fracture this summer and was not allowed to play in the Bahamas and missed, 4 weeks there. And then he had a little bit of a reoccurrence this fall. So we have to do a good job of monitoring him. We got to make sure we have top flight orthotics in him. And then he has to do a good job of really taking care of himself off the court, getting enough sleep. There's been a lot of studies done that, that if you're not getting enough sleep, you're more prone to injuries. And I think he understands that. So he's a big key for us. He's a guy that can take another big jump. We're just trying to get him in the best condition we can, and I think that's been the difficulty in that he's been out so much, it's hard to be in great condition.
Given his injury history and maybe given your current post situation, how important is it going to be for Marcus Weathers or maybe even an Ashton Miller, somebody that's kind of a bigger body to kind of get off to that start for you in the post?
So right now we're playing with really 3 guys for 2 spots. We're playing Bailey Steele, Mike Hughes, and Marcus Weathers for 2 spots. When we get Kelly and Rotroff back, now it's 5 guys for 2 spots. So we'll have to swing, Macy Austin and Ashton Miller that direction a little bit, which I really don't like. But, because of circumstances, we have to do that. But I feel like we have enough depth in the backcourt to go that direction a little bit. And then we have to make sure that Mike Hughes is in good enough shape to give us more than 20 minutes, and Marcus Weathers in good enough shape to play long minutes. Bailey Steele, I think, is in good enough shape. Now he's new to the system, so we have to watch foul trouble. We have to really make sure we evaluate our style of play to make sure that we're able to withstand that.
As you try to identify a starting lineup, how do you identify that 5, and do you look for that 6 like that Terrence Smith in year 1 that provides that quick punch like Tavian did also last year?
Well, if you look at the history of my programs, we've always had a 6th man of the year or a candidate for 6th man of the year, going all the way back to Akron where we've had probably 6 or 7 guys. And then Tavian won it, and then Terrence Smith. So, obviously, one of those big guys isn't going to start. And then, you got Lamar, Tavian Dunn, Martin, Ashton Miller. A couple of those guys aren't going to make it. Austin. Somebody's not going to start. So, they have to fight for their minutes and fight for their roles. And it's a continuous fight. It's just not, preseason. It's continually throughout the year. And I'm one of those believers that you have to earn what you get. Now, sometimes that 6 man's better than one of the guys starting. You're just trying to win games and trying to get your team to, understand, player personnel groupings and things like that.
Interesting how you guys brought Ashton Miller, and there's obviously a little bit of a kinship there that maybe helped with that. Just what did you see in Ashton and how has that maybe transpired so far throughout this team?
Well, Ashton's my kind of guy. He's an under-recruited guy that really a lot of people missed on. That has good ability, good versatility, good diversity in his game. He's a great listener. He's in good condition. He's very smart. So he's a guy that has typically done well for me, and he's been a pleasant surprise so far.
the season that Sincere had coming right out of the chute for you, obviously really impressive. What's the next step for him as he heads into his second?
Well, we've worked really hard on trying to attack his weaknesses and what we feel like his strengths are as well. So you want to polish his strengths. So one of the things that we've stressed with Sincere is, hey, you can be the best defensive guard in the country. You need to lead the country in steals. You need to lead the country in what I call duels, one-on-one defense. You need to lead the country in charges. You got to know what you are, and then lead the country in assists. Those are the things that will separate him, while at the same time improve his outside shooting, which he has, his three-point shooting. But remember really what you are. And so he'll never lead the country in scoring, but he can be the best defensive guard in the country, and he can't ever forget what can make him great.
Defensively, I know we talked a few weeks ago about their defense, about your guys' defense. How do you feel that's coming along, and how are they understanding that the mistakes have to be minimized?
Well, it's a little hard to judge, like I said, because we haven't been able to sell out in practice because we don't have the depth to be able to sell out every single day in practice. So sometimes we're saving ourselves. So we know that we have to be an improved defensive team, and that includes guarding the ball. That means improving knowledge, and most importantly, it means making more little plays. We have to improve rebounding the ball. We were atrocious rebounding the ball last year. Some of that's a little misleading because we had those injuries which made us tiny. We were like a high school team at times. So, but part of it is, hey, we have to improve our toughness and not get bullied. And so we're working hard on that.
With the rebounding and concern, and with Eric gone, who do you think emerges as those tough guys in the post for?
Well, ironically, and Eric Williams is an unbelievable talent, but I'm not worried about that position at all because I feel like Maceo Lawson will be one of the best freshmen in this league. He was a high-level recruited by a lot of high majors, and just a really good, diversified, all-around player. He may not have the numbers that Eric has, but he'll handle the ball, he'll pass the ball. He's a guy that won 4 state championships and never led his team in scoring all 4 years. So, to me, he's the ultimate winner. I don't think we'll miss a beat at that spot. I think rebounding-wise, I think Mike Hughes will be improved as he gets in better condition. And then we brought in a high-level rebounder in Bailey Steele, who averaged, I think, over 7 rebounds a game at Utah Valley last year. He's played 4 years of college basketball, so we're going to be improved there. And then when we get Rotroff and Kelly back, I think we can play big and strong, which I think is an important thing for us in this league because this is a perimeter-oriented league, so we have to be a little bit different to win, I think.
With those guys coming off those injuries, do you expect them back toward the start of league play?
Well, we think we're going to get Rotroff back in the next 2 weeks. Okay. And then we think Amari Kelly anywhere from mid-December to the end of December. So again, how quickly can they acclimate to winning, and being in high condition? But even if we can get 6, 8, 10, 12 minutes and then more and more and more as we go, now we become a little more versatile. And I think, that's probably the thing that I noticed in this league. There's not many teams in the league that can really withstand injuries. I felt like last year the depth, I thought a lot of people had 5, 6, 7 good guys, but then when you went beyond that, it got a little bit tight for everybody. So who can withstand the injuries, who can stay away from the injuries, I think is going to determine, who the best teams in the league are. I think, there's some teams like VCU that are so team-oriented that, they can withstand more than most. Now, they can't withstand losing Marcus Evans. Like, you take the best player off of any team in this league and it becomes an issue for them.
Do you feel like at this stage that you've built the depth about to the point where you want it to be?
I think what we did at Duquesne was a very simple plan. We tried to infuse our team with talent, as much talent as we could to start with, because we took over a relatively poor program, 3-15 in the league. So we got as much talent as we could, and then we knew that it wasn't championship caliber team talent. Mm-hmm. So what do I mean by that? That our culture wasn't good enough to win more than 19 games. So what we did is we cleaned up our culture because now we had enough of credibility and enough winnability to be able to clean up our culture to win championships. So I think a lot of times coaches can be misled with talent. There's some guys that can win you 19 games, and there's very few guys that can win you championships. So what we've tried to do is bring in more solid winning mentality people, and now we have enough ability that we can do that.
It's clear that you believe.
How do you go about that in determining like the winners?
Well,
like from high school, you're looking. How do you determine?
That's a really good question. So if you were to use a guy in this league that's probably one of the best in the country at it, it would probably be Bob McKillop. So he's really good at finding guys that he can win with. Winning mentality, willing to play a role. If you look at his team, he usually has 3 great players and then a bunch of guys that win. So that's how you do it. You figure out who really cares about winning, who's shown a propensity to win in the past, who's been in programs where they've had to make sacrifices. And I think that's the key to all of this. It's not always talent driven. Like, you have to have enough talent, but you also have to have some guys that care about winning. And you can't really change them. If they don't care about winning, it's really hard to change. And so that's kind of what we've tried to do. Easier said than done. No question for you?
Well, you know what? It's a good segue. It reminds me of something that Coach Giannini said years ago, where it wasn't just about talent, it's about role definition. And so as you continue to mold these guys, how do you see that role definition coming into focus for certain guys?
I think that's the last thing that comes is role definition. So one of the ways I've built my programs over the years is, hey, you have to guard the play. Look, I'll let you shoot it, but we have to keep discussing what a good shot for you is and what a good shot is in a particular time of the game, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then where are our strengths? Like, where should we play? And I think that takes time. And we're still in the process of figuring out, can we throw it to Mike Hughes on every play and play through it? Can we throw it to Bailey Steele? Should we isolate for Sincere Carrot? There's a lot of different ways you can go in this game. And I think, that's the key thing, is figuring out how to win. And I think it's a key thing for the players too. Like, how do I win? What do I really have to do to win? And how important is it to you?
Who's the most improved guy in your program?
Wow, that's a good question. I think they've all made pretty good improvements. I think a lot of it is mindset. The difference between Akron and Duquesne for me was we weren't always the best team at Akron, but we thought we were. And everybody else did too. Everybody in that league thought that we were better. So when you're in that close game, you have that belief structure that you're going to win. And so at Duquesne, for 40 years pretty much, they thought they were going to lose, right? And even to this point, we've made improvements, but we haven't shown that we can be championship quality yet. So we're going to have to beat some people before we really believe that we're championship quality. And when they start to believe that they're championship quality, I think you'll see a total change in mindset. And just look, at winners find ways to win and losers find ways to lose, right? And some of them are subtle, right? Guy slips on the floor, but do you ever notice, like, some guys just make plays and some guys don't? And so that's kind of where we're at. Can we take that next step? And the line's small. Like, it's like if you have an injury or two, like, it becomes difficult. You just don't have enough to win. There's too many good players in this league. That's the dilemma in this league. It's much like the NBA. Everybody has really good players in this league because you could take transfers, you can get Division I bounces, you can take as many of those as you want. But most of the time, the teams that win in this league have the best people. And the teams that win in the NBA generally have the best people, right? So you have to be smart enough to know that, hey, you're not winning with bad guys or guys that don't care about winning. But you also have to have enough talent. So that's what's hard in this league, is who can consistently be good. There's teams that can win some because they've got good players. But sometimes they're not good enough people. When I say good enough people, they don't care enough about winning to be consistently good. There's not a lot of difference between the best teams and the worst teams, right? You look at like a lot of the worst teams has a lot of Division I transfer bounces and were high-level guys, but they don't win. The VCUs, the Daytons, the Davidsons, the St. Louis's, like they built that tradition of winning, where winning is more important than individual success. The Rhode Islands. I don't want to leave anybody out. There's a lot of good teams in this league, but there's teams that can't consistently win because they get in their own way.
We've mentioned a lot of guys today. One guy that hasn't been mentioned as much maybe is Lamar and the way that he ended last season confidently. I know there were some highs, there were some lows, but how do you feel he's channeled that to be a valuable part of this team?
Well, I think Lamar and Tavian Dunn-Martin are interesting guys because they have a lot of pop. Like they can put the ball in the basket. And, one of our weaknesses last year is we didn't shoot the three ball very well. So they become very, very important guys. Now they have to defend better. And they have to put that first, and they have to make improvements. But both of those guys are guys that are going to help us. They're good people. They know what they're good at, and they know what they have to work on.
We get it at 10:45.